Welcome everybody back to Boost in Motion, guys. And today I want to talk about what's the pros and cons of the Burger Tuning Boost controller versus the full-fledged Ecutek flash tune for your VR30, Q50, Q60. But before I get into the video, guys, I want to do a bit of housekeeping with you guys, okay? If you are new to the Boost in Motion channel, please watch this video from the start to finish. If you do like the video, please hit the subscribe button with the bell notification and hit all right? Now, to my returning Boost in Motion family, much love, much respect. I appreciate you guys always banging with me. But you know what I'm going to ask you guys to do. If you watch all my videos, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. Also, take a look at your subscribe button. And make sure that the little bell notification on the side of it is set to all. Yes, guys. Because you guys sometimes do miss a lot of my Boost in Motion notifications. So unless it is hit all, you'll never get the notification. All right, guys? Anyways, let's jump into the video. Now, I'm going to put a link above here to a video that I made recently. It's pretty much talks about all the questions, pretty much the common questions when it comes to the Burger Tuning Boost controller. All right? And it gives you all the information that you guys need, because I've had 3 JB4s already. 2 on my, well, I had on my Q50, Q60, and now my Mercedes C63. But also, I've been tuned on my Q50 and Q60, so I can give you guys the best experience from having both, all right? So now, watch this whole video. Comment below, tell me guys what you think. Also, to my flash guys, right? Because I know my flash guys gonna jump in and say, don't get a boost controller, that's a freaking waste of time, right? Please leave those comments to the side. Let's talk about the pros. I'm gonna start with Burger Tuning Boost controller because it's one of the easiest things to go through, right? The pros is this. Number 1, easy access to install. You can install a Burger Tuning Boost controller in under 5 minutes. I have videos on that already. Check it on my channel. Plenty of quick installs. 2, you can uninstall it in 2 minutes. This is for people, which moves to the third thing, that worry about warranty. Let's just say that you do take your car still infiniti to get warranted, you know, certain stuff, and you know, you can just uninstall it. That's what most of you guys can actually do. So it's good for people who have at least Q50s, Q60s, all right? Or have some maybe third-party warranty and something may have happened. So let's say for the fourth thing, let's say something might have happened to your car. Let's just say your turbos might have gone out, or you might have started seeing a lot of blue smoke coming out your exhaust, or the car just has crazy amount of check engine light, or maybe that the car just shut off and stopped working completely. Not saying this happens often, but what you can do is just take it off. That's it. Tow the car to infiniti or any third-party warranty place that's gonna take a look at the car, and it won't be there, right? And finally, what I would say, another pro I would add is it does not flash your ECU. So a lot of people like to jump in and sit there and say this back and forth that, oh, they can see if the car was had the boost elevated. Yes, there's something called a freeze frame, right? Pretty much when you have a check engine light, it has a freeze frame. It pretty much stores the memory of what event happened, right? So it may see that your boost might have been elevated, timing might have been off, whatever it might have been, right? But here's the thing about these freeze frames, right? It's a freeze frame. It's a freeze frame. Things happen. There's something called material failure. Things break. Things stop working. Sensors stop working. That's it. So they'll just blame the car for having an issue. That's it. Some of you guys may not like what I'm saying, like, oh my God, Boost is trying to get over on the system. No, a lot of people have done this. The Boost controller has been on plenty of other vehicles. Just unplug it, all right? Plenty of you guys have hit me up and said that you did not unplug it because you wanted to be lazy, because 2 minutes is just too much. And guess what you guys had to do? Pay out of pocket, because they said, what is this device that's plugged in? No, we're not. You're gonna have to pay to get your turbo replaced. You guys hit me up with that. And you gotta live with that. 120 seconds was just too much to unplug it. Just saying. Now, you can stack it. What does that actually mean, right? So, if you get a full-fledged tune and you have your tuner, that is it. They tuned your car. If you want them to give you a new map and reflash the car, you have to pay money, right? But here's the thing. There's something called stacking in the JB4 world, and it's not really that popping in the Q50, Q60 world, but outside of the infiniti world, people do this. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get your full-fledged tune. Let's say you're tuned on 93 fuel, right? Now, you would want to get a map, let's say for 100 octane fuel, race fuel, or whatever, but you're gonna have to spend extra money for that. Remember, these drums are like $80, $100 a pop. And let's say you're not driving all the time, but maybe you don't want to spend $200, $300 for a reflash just for a map for that. So what you can do with the Burger Tuning JB4 is this. You would, of course, the car is running perfectly fine on 93. You put the race gas in. You will get a little bit of extra power, but it's not optimized. So what you can do is you can add a couple of PSI on top of some of your peak points. And because the JB4 is a data logger, right? What you can do is you can data log and see if there's any ridiculous, let's say, change in ignition timing and air fuel ratios. A couple of parameters that you can actually take a look at. What would happen with this is, remember, you're optimized based on elevation, fuel type, and or the amount of boost that you're running. In some cases, you can run more boost because you're running higher octane fuel, right? This all depends on how the car is optimized. So a lot of people on the platform will just use the JB4 boost controller as a quicker way to add a couple of more PSI to the higher top end or mid range, so you can actually have quicker mile an hour rather than get a whole full-fledged flash tune or map for that. It's a convenience thing because it's something that can be done right now. So I'm tuned on 93, and let's say I wanted to add a little bit of race fuel to this, and I can data load the car with the race fuel and add a couple of boosts. Add a couple boosts on top of my rear range and higher range, and as long as I data log and see it's running properly, then I can run that on race fuel rather than go get a full-fledged tune. But I would still recommend that you guys always hit up your guys' tuner and have them be the final end-all be-all, because they know what the F they're doing. All right. Now, another pro of the Burger Tuning Boost controller is this. It's something called data logging. Right? You can data log. What does this mean? Once you plug everything in, right, and you do a couple of pulls, right, you can actually take a look and see if it's affecting the ignition timing of the car, the fuel trims, and or how much boost you're running. A couple of other things, parameters that are very crucial and important. And as long as it's within a certain amount of parameters, the car is still running right. It's not optimized on a full-fledged tune platform, but it's running right. And that's what I really love about data logging. It's a quick, easy way, very simple, use simple graphs to do it. The Ecutek thing, they don't have that built in on the Ecutek platform. It's more just like a CCV reading, just a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet, and it's not that easy to look and read that. But the graph just makes it super simple, easy. I mean, there are other apps that you can just take from the Ecutek and just upload until it can be in graph form. But I would say that part really makes the JB4 pretty dope, and I like that a lot. A couple of the pros with the full-fledged Burger Tuning JB4 that I like about is you can be integrated with a flex fuel kit. You can actually read a certain amount of flex fuel. I believe they work with Fuel It, and you can actually have it plugged in and integrated with that. So you can have a quick and easy way of reading a certain amount of ethanol content in your gasoline. There's also other maps that you can use, such as valet maps, a map 6 where you can actually pinpoint and adjust the amount of boost that you want to run. Like I said a little earlier, you can add, let's say, a little bit more. Let's say if you have your stock tune, you can add, let's say, 2 to 3 more PSI at the top end, depending on the amount of octane that you might be running. That's actually pretty cool that you can do that. And it's just different integrated maps that are pretty dope for the Burger Tuning JB4. It does give you some more customization and user-friendly and access that the full-fledged Ecutek app just doesn't give you. You're not really in control with a full ECU Tech flash, but you are more control with the JB4 boost controller. Now let's go to the pros of a full-fledged tune. Well, the number one thing about the full-fledged tune that, as my experiences, I love the most is you get the most power. Because they're going into the actual ECU of the car, you can change around a lot of different parameters for the car to have an optimized performance based on stock and or fuel, elevation, and modifications on the car. That's one of the biggest pros to me. Let me use a quick example. On my JB4 boost controller, the fastest I've ever ran in a quarter mile is low 12 seconds, right around that 113, 114, 115 miles an hour. When you have a full-fledged tune on the same modifications and or stock, you will see on average 3 to 5, maybe 6 mile an hour quicker in a quarter mile. And or your 0 to 60 times go down. So for instance, another thing, the quickest I've ever been on a JB4 boost controller was low 4 seconds. I think it was like 4:11, 0 to 60. My quickest time on my Q50, having done on my Q60, was 3.77 seconds, 0 to 60. If you guys want to know, that's a huge difference when it comes to 0 to 60 times. All right, and or on average, I trapped about almost a half a second quicker in the quarter mile with a full-fledged tune compared to a JB4. Yes. Now that you guys know that, I could say that's a pro and con there, but the pro would be the full-fledged tune will give you a faster ET traps and or trap speed and 0 to 60s. All right. Also, you can add this to 60 to 130s too. It's gonna be a big difference. All right. Now, the second thing that I would say that is a pro when it comes to a full-fledged tune is there's other parameters about that you can do. There's something called, we do have like a launch control under Ecutek, where you will brake and hold the gas, and once again your tuner can adjust the amount of boost that your car will launch at. Once again, this gives you quicker 0 to 60 times. If you guys really care about mile an hour and or times, there's just more controllability on what the car needs to get done. So I think that would be a second benefit. The third benefit is when you get a full-fledged tune, you can tune based on fuel. Yes, guys. So the JB4 boost controller, remember, this is kind of pro and cons right here, but I'm talking about the pros here for the full-fledged tune from Ecutek or ECUTech. Let's say you want to get tuned for E85, right? You can't get tuned on a boost controller for that. That's not how that works. Your car is always going to work in its stock form when it comes for the boost controller, for the stock fuel, 91, 93. But when it comes to E85, this is when you're going to need the tuner to actually tune your car based on the amount of E85 that you're going to have in the gas tank. So E30, E50, E70, all depends on a certain percentage. For some of the guys who are watching, what do you mean E30, E50? Briefly, the 30 and 50 and 70 means a percentage of ethanol to the gas tank or to the fuel. All right. So most 91, 93, 94 comes with about up to 10% ethanol. So if you see 30, that means 30% ethanol, and so forth and so on. All right. Now moving forward, that is another pro that I like about a full-fledged tune. Another thing I would add is, because you put on bolt-on modifications such as downpipes, exhaust, intakes, and heat exchanger, you can optimize, once again, the performance of these bolt-on modifications with a full-fledged tune. Let me quickly explain. With the boost controller from JB4, you can just turn up the boost, right? And usually the better effect of that is your turbos will spool up quicker, which do add a bit more power and move the power up higher in the power band, right? But you're still not optimizing it based on the modifications from your downpipes, your CATBACK exhaust, your intakes. So once again, you get to optimize the performance based on the modifications that you put on the car. It's just more beneficial in that way. All right. Now, a couple of other pros I would say is, because you can switch between the different maps on a full-fledged tune, you can have a low boost or daily map. So pretty much the car can be set to a lower amount of boost, different amount of timing, so the car would just be more on the conservative, dumbed down side. There's other maps where you can go for your race map, or the map that you would run on 93 fuel, E85, race gas, whatever, however they want to choose to optimize it with. Also, other maps you can add is like burble maps, flame maps, those for the guys who like to be hot boys. You can go with those type of maps, and some of you guys actually love those maps too. So you can definitely throw in a lot of different optimizations and things that you want to do and add to your car. So I think those are a lot of the pros that goes in to getting a full-fledged tune. Now, bring it to, I'm not a close, we're still not finished here. To bring the pro section pretty much to a close. That's majority of the things that I've known that's the best benefit. Just to quickly recap, more optimization, quicker mile an hour, quicker 0 to 60s. You can optimize based on fuel, DA, XYZ, different things. Now, let's go to the full-fledged cons, which I pretty much kind of already spoke about just now, but I want to still say it on video. So now the cons of the full-fledged tune is this, right? Number one, if you care about warranty purposes, does your Infiniti dealership have access to see if the car was flashed? Yes. Ecutek has verified this. There's something called a flash counter. It does exist. It does exist. It freaking does exist. This came from Ecutek themselves, they stated. So if they really want to look into it, they can see that your car was full flash tuned. Okay? Now, number two, moving forward with this, what is another, what is another, I would say another con with a full-fledged tune would be just in my own and personal experience, right? You cannot just resell it. Yes, I should have put that as a pro in the JB4 part, so hopefully people who made it to this part can understand this. Remember, there's no hardware you're plugging into the ECU, it's just a flash. So if you wanted to sell the flash tune, you can't. Once it's done to the car, it's done to the car. So if you sell a car, it has the tune. The tune that I have my Q50 is gone. I really wish whoever bought my Q50 could hit me up, because then I'll be like, hey, I got the tune for it, and then I'll make a little bit of extra money on the side. I could tune it for you. You know what I'm saying? So that's the funny part actually about it. I really wish that I can take off the software and resell it. And no, you can't. It's only for the car, and that is it. And that would be an actual pro for the JB4, because yes, you purchased it for a certain amount of money, but you can always resell it to another person. So that's actually dope that you can always resell the JB4 boost controller, but for the full-fledged tune, which is a flash, you cannot. Another con I would say for the full-fledged tune is this: every tuner is not created equal. Yes, I wanted to curse. Everyone thinks that the tuners, all tuners are created equal. Yes, they're not. Okay, there are some good, great tuners in this platform, and there's some tuners who are more conservative, and there's some tuners who just have access to a laptop. Now, I'm not gonna sit there and play anybody. Remember, I'm not a tuner. These guys are still better than me. I'm just some regular dude off of YouTube. But you guys can already see one of the tuners that I rock with. You know, go shout out to Racebox, shout out to Hussein and Alex. But anyways, there are different tuners, and they're all gonna give you different results. I'm not gonna really shout out any other ones in this video, but just know that there's a couple of top tuners that will be for this platform that majority of people go to, because number one, they have good experience on tuning hundreds, maybe thousands of these cars, and number two, they are either an owner or either owner of the car, or they are a shop owner of these cars and make parts for it. So I would always recommend going with those type of experience when it comes to tuners. All right, and/or results. Now, and the next con I would actually add here. Wait, no. I would say, because I'm still on kind of the con thing. Now, let's stick with the cons of the actual full-fledged tune. The next part I would say as a con is this: because every tuner is not created equal, understand that some of them will make mistakes. Some of you guys' cars may run into issues. When you get your car optimized, right? When the car is optimized, what's going to happen is there are going to be small amount of people who may have specific issues. They may have an injector that might choose to go out a little later on down the line because of a certain specific type of fuel or boost they're running. They may run into certain specific issues with the car, because once you're pushing the car more to its limits, every part will have kind of its stress zone or its optimized zone where it may run into specific issues. So that exists in any tuning platform. So when you go an optimized tune, yes, you will push certain parts to its limits and you could have failure. Let's use a quick example, right? You're optimizing it based on boost. You might want to go full freaking send on E85, but you're pushing the car to its max amount level, so the turbo might start leaking. You might spin a bearing. You might run into oil starvation. Stuff like this happens when you optimize the car. These engines aren't race engines. So when you add a lot of torque to them, Well, you will run into certain stress that happens to the metal components. When you add a lot of G's and gravity to it from hard launches, our oil pans aren't designed, doesn't have like a baffle system to prevent oil starvation. Stuff like this could happen. So understand, when you're optimizing the car, you can run into issues. Not saying necessarily it's the tuner's fault. That could happen depending on the certain parameters they do it, but also understand that on a hardware side, this stuff can actually exist and it could happen. I just want you guys to know that, okay? If you ever run into any issues, and if Infiniti finds out that you've tuned your car, they can, let's just say, void your warranty on those parts. Always remember that. So just want to throw that out there. Now, so when it comes to the cons to the JB4, here's what I would say, because I already repeated it and I talked about it early in the video, but these are the cons in my honest experience of the JB4. Once again, you're not going to get the full beans. You're not going to get the full max amount of performance and optimized performance. So that would be number one. Number two, another con I would say with the JB4 is, in all honesty, I think that's just really it. You're just not going to get the optimized amount of performance for the car. Period. Okay, you know what? I would say the second thing is this: user failure. Because some of you guys lack the knowledge and understanding about just turning up the boost for a car, because that's not really always how it works. A lot of you guys are just going to slap this on a stock 3.0T or Red Sport, which is perfectly fine. It can be used in stock form, but you think that makes your guys a race car. No. So some of you guys just slap it on and just, let's say for instance, I want to use this example. You got a Red Sport and you're like, all right, let me go to +7. That's a user failure, because you don't understand that you're not supposed to be running +7 on a Red Sport. That's going to push you to 20, 21, 22 PSI. That's dangerous. What are we doing here? On a stock exhaust system, stock heat exchanger, stock everything. Please definitely check out that video. I talked about the burger tuning JB4 talking deeply about it. But I would say it's user error. Some of you guys are just gonna go throw it on, and you guys are running 0-20 oil, and it's 100 degrees outside where you live. It's always hot, and you're beating on the car. Like, the JB4 boost controller, I would say right now, is a really good piece of equipment, because you can have quick access to a lot of good information, parameters on the car, such as oil temperatures and etc., stuff like that. But it's like, because you guys don't know how to use it, you guys just slap it on and you don't watch certain parameters. So you just throw it on a stock car and beat on it, and that's just not how it works. That's not a good thing to do. So that's what I would actually add when it comes to that user error. I think that's the biggest con I would say. It's not really the JB4's fault. It's just the fact that the people just don't know that they should not be doing that. And that's what I realized when it comes to the burger tuning JB4. Another thing I would add is, that's it. Those are the only cons that I really have for the JB4 boost controller, because you just can't replicate the times and the mile per hour and the performance of a full-fledged tune. That's just really it. There's no other con that I really have against it. That's it. I mean, other than, yes, you spend money, and then you might, if you want to graduate, but you still could get some money back and put it towards some new parts. That's what I honestly would sit there and say. All right, guys, so I'm going to bring this video to an end. I just want you guys to know, remember, this is not an apples to apples comparison. The JB4 will make a car quicker, but a full-fledged tune will make it faster. Results are the most important thing. If you care about results and you want the optimized amount of performance, you should go with the you should go with a full-fledged tune. Also, I would add here is this: if your car is financed, just get a full-fledged tune. Yes, you may have a warranty, a third-party warranty, but here's the thing about it, right? You're gonna own this car, right? You're gonna own it, and it's best to have it optimized based on the tune. You can tell your tuner to optimize it, just don't run it to full max. And plus, because you're gonna own the car, it's gonna be yours. So it's an investment you're putting into your car. If it's a lease, just get a JB4 boost controller. Even some of you guys still will tune it because you don't care. Just understand that You're not really taking a risk. It's just that you're not getting the money back. As long as you get to enjoy the car as much as you want to. Remember, my last car was leased and it was given back. You know, so I do regret the fact that I spent X amount of $1,000 on a full-fledged tune for me just to give the car back. But I was gonna keep it though. That's why I did tune that Q50. But this Q60 is tuned and it is financed. Even though I didn't have a boost controller, I'm probably at some point gonna sell this car. But I know that I'm probably gonna sell it to one of you guys, and one of you guys is gonna be super interested because I'm putting really good quality parts on this car. Anyways, that's besides the point on this video. So outside of that, that's some of the recommendations I have. Hopefully this video was informative. Please hit the like button, subscribe on the bell notification. Definitely check that video talking everything about the JB4 boost controller. I have plenty of videos on the different maps and fuels and everything to use, so definitely check that out for the community, guys, please, because you guys do hit me up at boostinmotion on IG, Facebook, and boostinmotion@gmail.com. But to be honest, it's simple questions that I made plenty of videos in detailed about, and I can't just give you a quick response on a 10-minute video that went detailed on why you have to do what you did. Outside of that, guys, you have good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys have a good day.